Hello and welcome. I know a VTuber probably know what you expected when you clicked, but hey, we're here. In today's video, we'll be talking about Call of Duty World at War Zombies. In specific, a quick retrospective to see what it's like playing World at War Zombies today and how it holds up to today's standards in terms of horror, gameplay, replayability, and so on. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get right into it. As we know, Nocturne Untoden holds a very special place in COD Zombies history, being the foundation of what zombies would later become with the launch of BO1 through BO3 and so on. It was originally obtainable after completing the campaign, though on PC you can get it straight out the gate upon purchase. Loading into the map, you are greeted with eerie sounds coming from the zombies themselves, but just the map in general. It really makes you feel like you're all alone and no one's coming for help. You're just stuck there, fighting off an endless horde of zombies until you inevitably die. In the spawn room, you have a Kar 98K and an M1A1. The Kar 98 costing a generous 200 points, while the M1A1 costs a tad more at 600 points. The scariest part about this map is definitely the spawn room. You're just sitting there waiting as the zombies slowly make their approach. Making your way to the help door, costing 1000 points, you're greeted with a mystery box that grants you a random weapon for the cost of 950 points, making it risky in early rounds since most of the time you won't get anything good. On the walls, you have one of two choices, that being the Thompson or the double barrel shotgun, both for 1200 points. This room is typically used for training and high round attempts as the rest of the map is quite narrow. Heading up the stairs is essentially the rest of the map with 4 additional wall weapons, that being the bar, the trench gun, and the sawed-off shotgun, along with the scoped Kar 98K in the cabinet. There isn't much to do on the second floor besides camping by the grenades. Now there isn't a whole lot to do around the map, but there are some interesting things you can do, one of them being knifing the radio by the mystery box, and it'll activate a song called What the Fuck. Another thing you can do is explode all the barrels and cars around the map and you will unlock another Easter egg song. Now I'll be blunt, this isn't a map I'd go back and play often since everything's so bare bones. The lack of perks in Pack-a-Punch along with the map being so narrow makes it lack replayability. The zombies gluing onto you also makes it quite annoying since it's 2 hits and then you die. But it laid out the foundation for what zombies will become, so I can't really say it's good or bad. Now we have Verrucht, which translates to crazy. What a way to summarize this map. It was introduced in the first DLC on World at War, which will be the first of many to come. It is set in a burned down asylum in World War II. It is easily the scariest zombies map today and it makes most players stay on edge. The whole vibe of the place is just haunting, with the flickering lights, screams in the background, and who can forget, the infamous chair. On a more positive note, this is the map that introduced what we'd be drinking for the next 10 plus years, Perco-Colas. Coming with Juggernog, Speed Cola, Double Tap, and Quick Revive, which is useless if you played solo. And then we have this thing which won't be discussed, there's no use in beating a dead horse. Along with the introduction of perks, we got our first look at traps in the game, that being the electric trap which is placed upstairs by the MP40 and Double Tap. I cannot stress enough on how difficult this map is for the majority of players, greeted with tight corners, super narrow hallways, and zombies who sprint like this. Aside from the new features, all the box and wall weapons remain the same with the exception of the bipod bar which can't be used unless you glitch out the map. One thing that I found really interesting is the attention to detail. There are certain objects in the map that when you bump into them, they make sounds. Which just adds a little more to the creepiness of the map. I personally got thrown off discovering this and jumped. Another thing Verrucht did was add the first official Easter egg song, Lullaby for a Dead Man, which can be activated by flushing the toilet 3 times. This one's a weird one, but if you pay really close attention you can hear very quiet distorted circus music, because why not? If you go back to revisit the map, I definitely recommend trying to hear it. Now, I may be biased because this is my favorite map of all time, but I really like what World at War did with zombies, and I don't think it could ever be recaptured to this extent. The horror elements I feel like have been lost ever since World at War and slightly recaptured by Keynote or Toten, which was meant for World at War, but you know. I really like the tight and narrow corners of the map and flow in general. It's a difficulty that hasn't been achieved ever since, and I know this map is an acquired taste, but I definitely recommend you guys give it a try if you haven't. Now, who can forget about Chinon Numa? Although it's come back countless times, and despite it being my least favorite of the four, I can't deny the impact this map had for high round attempts. Chinon Numa translates to Swamp of the Dead. It takes place in a Japanese swamp in World War II. The aura this map brought was truly one of a kind, with foggy marshlands, ruined buildings, and eerie sounds of Japanese soldiers. The zombies themselves have a specific walk and run that is only exclusive to this map. Unlike Noctur and Toten, Chinon Numa expanded the gameplay with a larger map size and new ways to play the game, undoubtedly giving birth to training. The perks in the map stayed the same from Veru. What made the perks in Chinon Numa interesting was the randomizer. You never knew what you were going to get, so opening a door was always a gamble that could possibly get you killed. There were also traps in this map, with the most notable one being the Flogger trap. All the box weapons remained the same, with the only difference being the Wunderwaffe, which is the first wonder weapon to grace us aside from the ray gun. There are so many things on this map, but a few notable ones would be the introduction of the main crew. We are introduced to Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belinsky, Takio Masaki, and Edward Richtofen, each coming with their own unique personality. Dempsey being more gung-ho and ready for anything, Nikolai being your typical drunk uncle at your cousin's birthday party, Takio being an honorable yet bland and serious character, and Richtofen being a psychopathic scientist wanting to take over the world, but adding some of the best humor to the game. And who can forget Peter McCain, just a guy hovering above the starting room. We all know the lore behind Peter, but that's for another video. This map also introduced us to a few radios which tell us more about what went down in Veru and so on. More Easter egg stuff which we'll be covering in a separate video. Now this map isn't really my cup of tea. Could be the atmosphere, but I can't deny training by the Flogger trap is some of the most fun I've had training. The map does offer a wide variety of space, but most of it's covered by mud, which makes navigating through the map kind of a chore. This is definitely a map I'd only play on co-op, since most of the time I try playing solo I'm falling asleep. Now let's get down to the biggest one of them all, Theice, also known as the Giant. This is truly the blueprint for Call of Duty Zombies. Theice is set in a secret Nazi facility, which is where most experiments take place. Again, there's lore, but we'll be covering it all in a separate video. The map has very tight spaces, creating a very tense atmosphere. If I'm not mistaken, this is also the first map where the Bowie knife is introduced. The Wunderwaffe is also brought back to the map, but it comes at a cost, which we'll be covering at the end of the video. Pack-a-Punch is also introduced, which gives us more damage and ammo, as well as a pretty sweet platinum camo for the cost of 5,000 points. Theice is also the first map to introduce an actual Easter egg. While simple, it definitely requires you to use at least a few brain cells. Long story short, you shoot a console with the Pack-a-Punch weapon outside of the map near spawn, and then you play hide and seek with Samantha. Theice also comes with even more radios, with 3 playing different things and the other 4 playing the exact same ones. These are used to piece together the zombie storyline and how things slowly fell apart. Theice also has its own Easter egg song, which requires you to collect 3 jars with a spine and a floating brain. After you collect the 3, you will unlock the song, Beauty of Annihilation. Aside from Pack-a-Punch, Theice didn't really add a whole lot to zombies, but some things it did do was increase the zombie cap, which is placed at 24 zombies per round, which has its upsides and its downsides. The upside being you had more zombies to kill, and that adds a more challenging aspect to the rounds. The downside being it made high rounds harder at the time. The teleporters being introduced was also huge at the time, making getting to Pack-a-Punch much faster for a cost of 1500 points. This is definitely the most replayed map in World at War, and it's easy to see why. I really like training inside by the STG and the teleporter, and then in the later rounds camping by the catwalk. I definitely have the most memories in this map. Navigating through the map felt very fluid, unlike the rest of the maps, which felt like they had no real layout. A thing that really bugged me about this map is what they did with the Wunderwaffe. Most players are aware, but shooting yourself with the Wunderwaffe will remove the Juggernaut effect, making your 4 hits to down reset back to 2 hits for the rest of the game. Nonetheless, it's a minor complaint for the masterpiece that is Theice. If you made it to the end, I hope you enjoyed this little retrospective slash things about the map. This was honestly so much fun to make. Most of the things in this video are from memory and a little bit of research. If you guys want to see more Call of Duty Zombies retrospectives or just anything COD related in general, leave it in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bam!